Okay, the next part is the procedural due process implications. Interestingly, the government deviates from its declared purpose of preventing and combating specific cognitive and emotional states when it evaluates and schedules drugs from pharmaceutical companies. For pharmaceutical drugs, the evaluation and scheduling process is delegated to the FDA. The DEA is then bound in many regards by the FDA's drug evaluations when determining schedule placement. This raises significant procedural due process concerns, considering the FDA's drug division is 75% funded by the pharmaceutical companies whose drugs it evaluates and recommends for schedule placement. Consequently, with a direct financial interest in approving drug applications submitted by its funders, the FDA approves those applications approximately 90% of the time. And with a direct financial interest in recommending schedule placement, allowing for the legal distribution of pharmaceutical drugs, it makes such recommendations nearly 100% of the time. Comparing the government's evaluation and schedule placement procedures of pharmaceuticals versus non-pharmaceuticals presents a night and day difference and an extreme bias favoring its funders. In its evaluations of pharmaceuticals, the government intentionally omits or ignores hundreds of studies about the harm of CNS pharmaceuticals, including millions of instances of drug-induced disease and death, toxicity, high addiction rates, and fatal withdrawals. Moreover, both the UN, pursuant to the conventions, and respondents use decades-old information. They fail to consider new evidence of harm and consistently fail to provide any rationale or meaningful nexus tying drug evaluations to ultimate schedule placement decisions for both pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals alike. Further, the conventions are devoid of any required findings, descriptions, standards, or anything else that guide or justify schedule placement decisions, thereby providing the UN entities full discretion with no accountability and no required rationale for its schedule placement decisions. Thus, unlike non-pharmaceuticals, the government makes an exception for pharmaceuticals with regard to the CSA's alleged purpose of preventing drug abuse or otherwise protecting public health. This has resulted in the mass marketing and drugging of the population with deadly, toxic, highly addictive drugs that are known to numb the mind and emotions of consumers. The respondents have effectively created a monopoly on mental health care, whereby consumers are limited to choosing pharmaceutical products that are often more harmful than non-pharmaceuticals or otherwise face criminal consequences. Accordingly, respondents are directly responsible for the implementation and enforcement of unprecedented criminal legislation that punishes consumers and imprisons millions of humans for the harmless act of choosing and simply possessing non-FDA approved products.